in 6 months, I was booked out for 2 years. And
Wow.
that was like, cool. So I quit teaching because I didn't need to work 200 odd days a year. I only had to work 30 days a year, and I was making double my school salary in those 30 days. And
That's
people go, "Oh,
incredible.
you make so much money." Thank you. You make so much money from TikTok. I'm like, "No, I make so much money because of TikTok."
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Growthpreneurs podcast. We are here today with Sev. Sev, you have 1.6 million TikTok followers. Is that correct?
Correct.
And how many did you have in 2019?
0 at the start of the year.
Zero. Yeah. So this is incredible. Your story is incredible. In 2019, you were a high school teacher. Today, you're a business owner, full-time content creator, have 1.6 million followers on TikTok, thousands of other followers on Instagram and YouTube, and the host of the SEVA'S show. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So how did this happen? How did you go from a full-time high school teacher to now everything that you're doing in less than 4 years?
So thank you for having me, by the way. In 2019, I was in a classroom teaching maths, and I was a high school maths teacher. And one of the kids is on his phone, laughing. So I wanted to know what the fuss was about. And he was on this app called TikTok, and he was lip syncing some song and doing some dancing. Typically what the app was known for back then. And I thought I'd download it, have a look at it, because I was always interested in what the kids were into, because if I understood what they were into, then I could leverage that in a conversation and then get what I wanted from them, which is an open window for them to learn what I had to offer. And that's pretty much the definition of marketing to me. But going back to my success from TikTok, I didn't really take it seriously at all in the first kind of few months. I just downloaded it, did a couple of videos and thought, it's not for me. Just like Fortnite and Minecraft and Roblox, not for me. Just an app. But then I thought, okay, I'll take it a little bit more seriously and put a few more out and see what happens, because Instagram stories was kind of still in its infancy and Reels did not exist at the time. So I thought, why would I put a story or something of meaning for 24 hours where it disappeared after that? And obviously shorts didn't exist either. Snapchat was kind of in the same realm, hence why stories was, created to combat Snapchat. And then I thought, okay, well, let's make permanent short videos, because back then it was still only about 15 seconds. You can only do 15 seconds for TikTok, 15 to 30 seconds. And yeah, I started putting out more videos of my thoughts and my ideas in my head, anything, just because I love doing it and I just wanted to put something somewhere, and TikTok was the only platform to do that. And then, within 2-3 months, I had a couple of videos do well where I talked about my height, which was I'm 6'10", which is big. And that was the groundbreaking video. Going back, actually, the first groundbreaking video was when I realized one of the kids found my account just randomly. And they said, "Sir, we love your TikTok." And I had like 10 videos, random videos. So then I started making skits about what students would say at school. Like, these are the things that students say at school. And that was like a relatable thing. And that did well. And then I got a little bit addicted, the whole, you succeed a little bit and you want to succeed again. They had me sucked in, which is what all social media apps do. They give you a little taste, and then you put out more. So then, they get more content from you, which feeds the consumer. Back then, I didn't know that. I was just like, I love making videos, still do. And then, fast forward 6 months, 20,000 followers, 30,000 followers, and then started hitting 100,000 followers, which was like my ultimate goal. And then from there, I had a wedding photography business on the weekends. And I thought, you know what? Let's discuss, let's mention that I have a wedding photography business. And it worked. And then I started getting bookings from there. The rest was history, but I'm sure we can get into that in a second. But that was...
Yeah, I remember when I started following you on TikTok, you were already sharing some type of the wedding photography stuff. So it was probably like about a year in. Your energy on the videos, it was just like you were yourself. You said funny stuff. And I don't know, something about it just was like, oh, I'm going to follow him. And you've put out some great content. So when did you realize this can make real money?
TikTok I never made any money from TikTok specifically, because we don't have the creator program here in Australia. We never have. We just do collaborations and, your basic influencer thing with other brands. But I leveraged TikTok through my personal brand growth that I wasn't even growing a brand. I was just making videos and hoping one in every 10 would hit. And then the most random ones would hit. And I thought, okay, cool. And then I'd do that for a while. And then I'd do something else because I'd get bored quicker than my audience would. And that was one of the key things that I found later in my understanding of the whole algorithm and how the market perceives you. I was ahead of the market because I would get bored of my stuff before everybody else would, which means I could pivot nonstop. And I didn't have one thing that I would just do over and over and over again and build a huge following. They call that a niche in social media world. But when I mentioned wedding photography, I didn't think anyone would care because I thought it was just mostly kids. And you can't get married at that age, not in Australia anyway. And I had 2 bookings 2 days later, and I thought that was free. I didn't pay any ads or anything like that. I was hustling in Facebook groups and going out and doing like expos and things like that. But to have built my brand organically for the love of it and being myself, and then mentioning what I do and having a small percentage of that following wanting to get married and using and hiring me, I was like, wow. So I doubled down on that. And then within 6 months, I was booked out for 2 years.
Wow.
And that was like, cool. So I quit teaching because I didn't need to work 200 odd days a year. I only had to work 60 days a year. And then I brought that down to 30 days a year. And I was making double my school salary in those 30 days. And people
incredible.
go, oh, you make so much money. Thank you. You make so much money from TikTok. I'm like, no, I make so much money because of TikTok. And now in 2021, actually, that's when you and I met first on Clubhouse. We were on Clubhouse and I was on there ridiculous hours, and it's unorthodox of
I
me.
remember. I didn't sleep for like 7 days straight.
Exactly. But I was listening to the Americans hustling and talking about all these different online things and courses and being a guru and all of that. And I was like, oh yeah, cool. And this is before the huge wave of TikTok gurus came out. And I thought, I have a personal success story that nobody else has in the world. And then I thought, okay, let's do that. And then organically, but 2021, I had 2 big companies that I would have never thought I would ever work with hit me up. And that was like my next 12 months was like, all right, I'm a consultant now. I'm advising brands on how to leverage TikTok. And now it's caught up because every agency is doing it still poorly. And I'm just pleading with people to go, I've been doing this for 5 years almost now. This is what you need to do. And it's like some of it's on deaf ears. Small businesses are paying attention. The companies, they still have that old school mindset, or they just let their agency take over and their agency drops it. They fumble. And I'm like, what's the go? So I don't think the gold rush is finished yet, but I have been plotting away with some new things and getting ready for the next thing, which is, AI related.
Yeah, I love it. So let's dive into a little bit about the biggest mistakes that you see companies usually make on TikTok. Is it that the founder's not getting involved in the videos? Because we know when agencies are involved, they can try to bring in other people. What do they do that they shouldn't be doing usually?
So too many chefs in one pot is what I really say. They don't look for a brand ambassador or a mascot would be another one. And when they do delegate it to an agency, which is usually because their internal marketing team they're not creatives. They don't have any creatives in their internal marketing team. So that's where the first problem is. The second problem is when they delegate it to an agency, the agency is looking just to add profit or add revenue to their cash flow. They don't really care. And they think they know what they're doing, or they'll give it a go, and they get views, or they use ad spend to get views. And then they report the views at the end of the month. Look at all these vanity metrics that we got. How good's that? Let's keep going. And the marketing manager in the company doesn't care. They go, yeah, cool.
Or doesn't even understand the metrics.
No, exactly. And the owner's like, cool, we're getting views. I'm happy. But now they're starting to figure out that, what is the ROI? Where are the sales? So they're looking further down the funnel, because marketing is really the top of the funnel going through into you wanting to attract warm leads. Yeah, they can argue that a part of marketing is, getting the views over and over, and then a small percentage, 0.5% engagement rate's all you need. I can hit that with my eyes closed. But the old school style of marketing is kind of what's hurting the potential of leverage utilizing this new platform, especially nowadays with everybody's got like 2 seconds of attention span, especially Gen Z. But overall, the biggest problem companies are making is they're not understanding why you need someone who's obsessed with what you have to offer, whether it's a service or a product, and then they also have to be somewhat creative and somewhat understanding of how marketing works in that for that platform. So I'm talking about a unicorn, and I'm not trying to sell myself as one. Like for the most part, I'm only really interested in 2 or 3 things that I could do that for. But the educational stuff is pretty simple. Find someone that's obsessed with what problem you solve, and they can do it. Put them in front of the camera and talk nonstop about your company, and let them be creative. If you let them do that for 12 months consistently, you will succeed. It's almost a guarantee. But agencies, they come in, they go, give us a tenure or 2, 3 month sort of stint. And at the end of the 2, 3 months, they waste their money, but they spend a little bit of it making a great presentation of why 1 million views was worth $10,000. And then they keep going, burning that money. And I'm like, why? How's nobody realized this? So anyway, that's my kind of rant about it. I go on this rant probably once every 2, 3 days. With someone with no marketing degree or really education, like qualifications, it's just my personal observation based off of what I've done, what I've helped others do, and also how I've seen others do poorly but gaslight their clients into thinking, we're doing good, keep paying us,
Yeah.
So I'm interested when you talk to companies and you essentially advise them to create a virtual face that represent their company. How do you solve that problem, or what do you say in terms of longevity? Because a company often doesn't know whether the person they pick will be with them for a long time.
Yeah, I have this question every week. It doesn't matter who your mascot is at the front, as long as they do a good job. And then at the end of the day, you just need to keep keep testing, keep testing, keep testing. What I say to companies is, if you're afraid to bring someone in, then you yourself as the CEO, as the owner, you need to put yourself in front of the company or the brand. And if you're afraid that when you trying to make an exit of the company, you're worried that because your face is attached, it's not going to be a clean exit. Well, it's been done before. You just slowly put yourself away and bring someone else in. Whether that succeeds or not, well, again, it's been proven to succeed before. But yeah, I go to companies and say, you need a mascot, you need a hero, you need someone to come in and you need to dominate. They need to dominate. And in Australia, it's actually really hard to do that. I'm finding. In the States, people throw themselves at you. Let me be the micro influencer. Give me a chance.
Right.
It's all about incentives, right? You find the right person who understands the product or the service, you can do anything. But people don't have the budget, they don't understand it enough, or they don't want to risk it because of whatever reason they have. It's actually a huge problem right now. And then you see agencies, and I'm not talking about marketing agencies, I'm talking about influencer agencies come in and say, we'll connect you with the right person. But I see a lot of fumbling still,
Right. Yeah, 100%. And I think that warrants a lot of, at the end of the day, like the viewer, our 3 million-year-old brain is still like in control. So if I look at a video and you're telling me that this company is so great and how you use the product and all this stuff, and it's not true, there's just so many behavioral cues that come across in that video that make me feel, I don't know if I believe this person, or that just forced me to scroll up. And that's the problem with a relationship like that.
There's a lot of scripting that, like, UGC has become like, so common now that it's just
Explain that for
oversaturated.
people that don't know what that is. What is
So
UGC? And
UGC, yeah, yeah. So user generated content, you find influencers, micro influencers, or even just creators who don't even have a following, but they know how to work their way in front of a camera and haven't really built their own brand yet. It's like, get whoever, whatever that is happy for a $50 to $100. You get them, you get a whole army of them to make 40 videos across 20 to 40 of them, one video each or two video each. And if they can make a simple video at the cost of a product or maybe a little bit of extra cash, all that content comes to the agency, and they put ad spend behind it, and then they only need just one or two videos of that 40 to hit it right, and then they push that video out nonstop to the target market, right? And then once that campaign finishes, the client is hoping that they are making a profit. And it has to be more than 2 times the profit, because remember, they're probably paying a whole bunch of money for the agency to get that to happen. But once that campaign ends, what happens to the brand? It disappears until the next campaign starts up again. So that's why, like, I don't believe in like campaigns short term. Sure, every now and then there's an outlier that succeeds, and that's all you see on these agencies' websites. You don't see the failures. But what I dare say to clients or to companies is, when you hire an agency, ask them if they've succeeded in a campaign organically before, because you are at the risk of the agency that helps you. Once you stop paying ad spend, you become invisible again. What is their organic strategy long term? And the analogy I use here is, have you ever discovered a TV show that was 3 or 4 seasons in? You never heard of it before that season. What did you go and do? You go back and binge watch the first season from start to catch up. That's what people need to do with their content strategies. Build that organic library of content, their value, their education, and all these different metrics. That's the testing phase. Then eventually you start to figure it out. And then once the content starts to be discovered properly by the right audience, they're going to go all the way up and watch all of the videos. You know, that whole 200, 300, 400 view trap they call? Watch what happens when one of those videos goes viral. All the others start to get thousands and thousands of views because people are binge watching. Mind you, it needs to still be related, especially if you're a business. But what the agencies aren't doing is that organic play. It's just ads, ads, ads. And I mean, honestly, if you're a company that doesn't care, then by all means. But there are businesses out there that have genuine content or products or services. They get put into this system and they lose so much money because they're in it for the long term, you know? Otherwise, drop shippers and these agencies should just pair together because they're just there for the flip, you know? But yeah, there's so much subjectiveness about this. Like, and I'm not talking about everybody. This is just my pure observation of the game. And I just believe that if you have a genuine brand and you want to genuinely have a long-term effect on this, then you need to have a long-term organic play. You shouldn't be relying on short-term campaigns only. You should be both. But originally, just like I did with my brand, I did organic stuff. And then eventually I didn't have ads. And I'm only now starting to explore ads myself because I'm thinking, why not? I've got the proven content. And that's what brands should do. But now I'm talking about it in a way like it took me years. I know the trials and errors that I've been through. I can help people cut through that organically. Then once the videos start hitting, pump as much ad spend as you want. And that's the other big mistake that I see companies doing. They don't have that library of discovery. You scroll through TikTok and you see an ad come up, but it has some sort of interest. You want to look at their profile. You don't want to stop the scrolling session and go to the website to make a purchase, because you need a few more touch points from them to make the purchase, right? If you interact with their ad, what do? They retarget you. That's how it works. And they send you 7 or 8 more to have that, connection with you. Yeah, some people do that properly and it works. But most of the time now people go, it's another ad. Oh, there's that person again. Another ad, another ad, another ad. Whereas if it was organic or it was masked as organic and I can press their profile picture and then see their entire profile and then go binge watch because I really like that ad, then I actually have a better chance of making the purchase. There's another rant
I,
for you.
I mean, I see it in myself as a buyer. I don't think I've bought one thing from a TikTok ad, and I have bought a bunch of things from creators that I followed on TikTok that just happened to do some video, like the storytelling of small business owners on TikTok. Like there's an older gentleman with a candle shop, like he
Yeah.
shares the story, and then there's like this
Yeah.
one
Organic.
girl who yeah, there's this one girl who has like a journal company and she's like, "Oh my god, I just messed up." And whether it's scripted or not, she's like, "I messed up. I ordered 10,000 more journals than I should have." And she shows the entire story and it's like, "Okay, I'll buy a $50 journal just to support this person." And it's all organic. And I think that that's powerful. And what you just said with the ads, I mean, I'm 4.5 years into building my brand. I haven't touched ads yet because I can't even imagine turning that on right now. We couldn't handle the demand if
Mm.
I turned on ads, especially with retargeting and I'm bilingual, turning on Spanish ads on top of that, it would be insane. And I think that you also cheat yourself from learning if you only do paid. Like there's so much that you learn through the organic journey if you just give yourself 12 months that you'll never learn if you just like hand it off to someone else and do a paid campaign.
Yeah, and you don't have that connection with the audience long term either. It's so much more transactional going with ads only, rather than building a community that, I built a community without any need to sell them anything. So I'm genuinely a personal brand that is me. Like
Mhm.
my niche is me. Whatever I'm into, whatever I do, whatever my quirks are, that is me. Whereas, but if you're a business and you don't want to build your personal brand, fair enough. People don't go into business a lot of the time to be in front of the camera. But this day and age, this is what we're turning to. What do you think about that, actually? I want your opinion on that.
I don't believe in convincing anyone. People come to me and they're like, "Hey, can you help me grow on LinkedIn?" And I'm like, "Are you willing to get in front of the camera as the founder? Or do you have sometimes they're serial entrepreneurs. So do you have a founder that's willing to get in front of the camera?" If they say no, I'm looking to do paid ads or to run a faceless campaign, I refer them out. I don't deal with it. Because like the way that I know how to grow companies, you need to
Mm,
get in front of the camera.
yeah. For LinkedIn, is it like their personal profiles or their
Yes.
pages that they have, or both?
So it starts with the personal profile.
Mm,
Ideally, if a company has, let's say, 10 to 25 employees, it'll be the founder CEO first. And then
yeah.
after that, there's usually like a VP of sales or VP of marketing person that can start to come
Cool.
into the campaign. Each of them can start to create different types of content to tap into the different avatars or whatever. And then there could be a company page with different announcements and different newsletter and all of that. But the founder, without that founder in the beginning, it's never going to be as effective as with the founder. So I just refuse to work with them if the founder CEO is not going to be involved.
Yeah. And what about like I can answer this from my end as well. I'm just curious. When you find a LinkedIn, say, specialist, and what should you look for? Because in Australia, I feel like it's an untapped market as well.
Hmm.
We're still behind in that region. People are still kind of using it as like just super stoked to be part of this gathering of other people this weekend. That's still where Australia is at. If I was to look for a LinkedIn expert specialist in Australia, what are the green flags and what are the red flags?
I would just say, like, have they grown and do they have case studies, real people on LinkedIn that you could contact and they not be involved with the conversation? And then when you talk to those people, ask them, like I tell people, contact my case studies,
Yeah.
ask them about the hardest part of the campaign, ask them about how long it took, ask them when they first got their wins, ask them the good, the bad, and the ugly, and then listen to
Mm,
them and kind of, do your due diligence that way. And if they don't have that, then I think that's a problem. And I think it's also like a personality fit too, and where their expertise is. There's some LinkedIn experts that don't really lean into video, or like our specialty is video and then live video, live audio, newsletters. But if you're just someone that doesn't want to show their face, I won't work with you. So if you don't want to show your face, there's LinkedIn
Yeah.
experts that will do some growth hacking for that. So I really think it's also like, where do you strengths lie, and do they match with the expertise of that
Yeah.
expert?
And what is the range of from start of working with a LinkedIn a specialist to getting results? What is a good metric of measurement there?
It could be quick. If someone's like, let's say like a coach. So one of my recent clients, in 10
Mhm.
days, we launched her newsletter. She had her first live audio event yesterday. It's like a couple clubhouse room, right?
Yeah.
40 people were in the room. She got 25% to take action on her call to action, and she's still doing the calls. Let's say that in 10 calls, 3 close. It could be as fast as that. So it really depends, but she's a coach, right? So it depends on their sales cycle. I have guys that they run commercial cleaning companies for oil rigs. Their sales cycle is going to be 6 months, right?
Yeah, no,
But
that's the game, right? I'm seeing a lot of
exactly,
specialists talk about these examples, but these examples are specifically catered to coach-based clients. And then when
exactly.
someone comes in and goes, "Well, I have a product, or I have a longer sales cycle. How can you help me?" Yeah, it
It's
becomes
just
like
different,
the
and it's also the goals of the person. So, there's some people that have product-based companies that they're making $10 million a year, but their goal on LinkedIn is not to sell product. It's just to, position themselves as a thought leader and grow their podcast listenership, and maybe launch a private community in 6 months, or just to launch a book. So, it also depends on, like, the goals of the person. Like the commercial oil rig client, his goal wasn't necessarily to sell, it was to attract top talent. And within just a couple months, he started to win back talent that he had lost to competitors, like top executive guys. And how much money does that save him? So it depends.
Yeah, it does. And like with TikTok, it's a different ball game still. Like I'm still considering LinkedIn to be more B2B,
Yeah.
whereas the younger social media channels, because LinkedIn's older than Facebook. Not many people know that.
Yeah.
And and
Well, we know.
yeah, I know you'd know. But
A lot of
yeah,
LinkedIn users don't, they would rather TikTok be banned. LinkedIn is a place where a lot of the users are LinkedIn evangelists. They rarely even spend time on Facebook. They only love LinkedIn. Very few spend time on other platforms.
that's true. I've been dipping my toes into LinkedIn for the last 2 years, and I've gotten a lot of business out of it myself. I have had people approach me to help them with their LinkedIn, and I say to them, I'm like, and again, this is me going, well, video worked on other channels. Nobody's posting videos on LinkedIn as much as, especially in Australia. Still, like major flaw. So I thought, okay, well, let's do like a video value, but the language needs to match the audience, right? And this is another thing that I see companies do wrong. The PAC acronym, platforms and culture. You need to understand the culture of that platform to communicate to them properly, not put your TikTok style content on LinkedIn. But yeah, it's early days for me, so I'd love to pick your brain more about it, because I'm getting
Yeah.
people hit me up in Australia, and I'm thinking I'll give it a go, but I don't want to be one of those agencies that will just give it a go. My very first ever LinkedIn sort of client that I've had, I grew his profile page, his company page, to 300 followers in less than a month. I don't know if that's
Good.
good.
Yeah, that's good.
And but the engagement, I look at the engagement, right? Like, how do
Yeah,
I get
so
more
this is where
engagement?
it's different, because it's like, so this is something that confuses people about LinkedIn, is that they're an audience that will watch but not engage, because they're, especially like the biggest leaders, they know that their activity is public. They don't want their employees, their
Oh,
investors, their peers knowing that they're watching Shanee's live, even though they watch every single one. And so a lot of it's dark social. So the biggest things that matter are not comments, it's actually the demographics of who's watching. And so if I have a post that is being watched mainly by CEOs, owners, C-level people and owners and founders, then that post did well, even though they're kind of lingering in the dark. And so a lot of people get confused about that because LinkedIn's the type of audience that they won't bother you or take action on your call to action until they're ready. They may watch you for 6 months. You'll never know who they are.
Yeah.
But there's
And
certain
that's
strategies to
organic.
get around that.
Yeah, that's organic. And you know, nobody knows that they've DM'd you either. So
Exactly.
that's the underlying, and that's what I've learned as well with LinkedIn. I have over 70% of my audience that engages with me or just watches my content in general are key decision makers. And I think when I discovered that, I was like, oh, that's cool. That means a good thing, because I've always gone to a table of marketing people in a company and gone, before we start this meeting, are we having any decision makers at the table? And they're like, oh, yeah. Operations manager's coming in too. I was like, great. Or the chairman's coming in. Because I've closed companies in under an hour for tens of thousands, almost hundreds of thousands of dollars. I'm still a baby, chill. In under an hour, because the decision maker was there. Whereas when they weren't there, it was just scratching of heads. And I thought, okay, translate that to LinkedIn. The messaging is a bit more personal. And even though a lot of CEOs, they check their LinkedIn every 2 weeks or 2 months sometimes. But when they do, it's like a rare opportunity that you would get normally once or twice a year at a networking event, in hopes that you bump into them, in hopes that nobody else cuts you off in conversation. That's where LinkedIn's coming. But with TikTok, it's their kids that like you, or you whatever you like, or whatever you project. And then the right parents or the right CEOs and decision makers, they want to know what their kids are into, so then they learn about it. I received an $80,000 client because the director of the marketing agency who had the client found me on TikTok. So there is
That's
still meaning
interesting.
to that.
Oh,
But
100%.
yeah, but with LinkedIn, I mean, yeah, DMs every now and then. I've noticed that ever since I put a CEO title on my LinkedIn, it's just those, you know, those DMs you get, and it's just, oh, here comes the start of a script. And now I just ignore all of them. But it's frustrating though, because when you want to reach out to someone yourself, you want to
You have to
have
go
that point
against
of difference.
baseline. Yeah, you have to go against baseline. Yeah.
Yeah. But then that's where video comes in, because I get a lot of people coming and saying, Sev, I saw your video on LinkedIn. That was cool.
Yeah, exactly. So what would you say to people that, because there are so many people, whether they're CEOs, founders, or just 9 to 5 workers that want to build something on social media, but a lot of them, Sev, I'm going to tell you, the biggest fears that stop people from video are, the number one, I'll tell you, is vanity, the way that they look. Number two is being judged by peers that I used to work with 10 years ago that are on my LinkedIn or on my social media. And number three is they don't know what to say. But even the number one is vanity, and people divulge this to me all the time. So what would you say to someone that is afraid to get on video?
Yeah, it's image, isn't it? It's status. It's the way that you appear. But if you're able to hook someone in within 2 seconds for them to watch your whole video, and they get absolute value from you, because you know what you're talking about with utmost respect to yourself and to the people that you're delivering to, it doesn't matter what you look like. And if the people still don't take you seriously, even though your value is absolute gold, would you think that they are your target audience anyway? Would it be the people that you want to deal with anyway? Sure, it could potentially be a missed opportunity if you're not wearing a suit, or the lighting's not correct, or you didn't have a shave. But
A shave.
I think,
Mhm.
yeah. Is that what you say in America? Shave?
No, I know, but I don't have a
Oh.
shave.
Oh, I'm just saying in general,
No, I
or
know, I know, I
makeup or hair or whatever, right? And like, I look back at the wedding photography thing. I discovered that my audience is more the country folk, right? They're not as well presented, quote unquote. They're dirtier. They like to have more fun though. They're more adventurous, they're easygoing, and they have the money anyway. Whereas originally I thought I needed to get the real bougie top tier suburbs in my area, in my city. That's where the cash is. But I also learned a lot of those people are stuck up assholes. And I thought, I don't want to be their wedding photographer. I want to be the outback farmer. Farmers are pretty wealthy, I want to be their
Yeah, it's
photographer.
older money.
And
Yeah.
they're the craziest weddings, the most fun weddings I've ever had versus the bougie, but it becomes my filter, right? It's like, it's exactly the same as dating. I am myself going out, trying to, talk with a girl. And if she doesn't like the way that I present myself, she's not my girl anyway. I don't want to change myself for them. It's the same with business. There are examples that that's not the case as well. There are times where I needed to step up and present myself, but more times than not, the times that I did that, those guys ended up being a pain to work with. So the filter came into effect, But yeah, the presentation on video with CEOs and things like that on LinkedIn, I say to them, well, great, start a Instagram account. Oh, but what if they find me on Instagram? So what if they do? What are they going to do? What's the worst thing they can do? Not hire you? Great. What about the other 99? And then I also say, because my first client in this scenario, he's in oil and gas and mining. There's so many people out there. They all wear suits. They all have all these things and all these rules. My guy, he's my type of person. And I'm like, you're perfect for this, because as long as you get the job done, who cares? And if you're relatable to the common man or the common tradie, they call them tradies, tradesmen in those industries, those tradesmen will love that person, build that brand. And then what will happen is that guy's got our employees' attention. How good would I be as a CEO if we brought him in to manage a project at our mine site? Because, he's the one of the boys, but he's also got that CEO sort of mentality too. That's like best of both worlds if you can crack that. And that's kind of what I'm coming up with, like, be the best of both worlds and not skew to one, because you are missing out on another whole demographic. And then I'll end this rant with, most agencies and companies think they need to target this, but you have to target everyone. 100% of people, because the 99% who are not going to purchase your product or service know someone in that 1% that will. And if you reach out to them and they are the word of mouth to the 1%, that word of mouth to the 1% that you are trying to target online with paid ads organically will feel so much more authentic coming from them, because it just felt like a referral from a friend. Why don't people go broad? Because they don't have patience. That's why. And I'm like, patience, guys. 12 months of broad, and then you get the niche. The rule of 1%, the 1% of 1%. I always tell this to my kids back at school. 1,000 followers is kind of the benchmark, right? 1% of 1,000 is 100. 100? No, 10. Yeah, 10. Did maths wrong there. I used to teach it, right? 1% of 10 is not quite one person. Okay, let's go to 10,000. Can we get the 1% of 1% there? Yes. What about 1,000,000? We're on. Let's do it. And I'm not saying 1,000,000 followers. I'm saying over time, 1,000,000 people reached. And everybody can achieve that within 12 months with the amount of social media platforms we have. LinkedIn, personally, I average 6,000, 7,000 people a month, and I post barely once a week. Imagine if I had the same game as I did TikTok. But that's me trying to figure out LinkedIn still, because someone said to me, you shouldn't be posting every day. I'm like, I don't know. I have no idea. What do you think?
I don't agree. Yeah, I don't agree at all. I think you should be posting every day. And then I think it's kind of like the compound effect. And after 90 days of posting every day, it could go up, and it depends what your goal is too, right? So like if your goal, going back to the goal, if your goal is business, you better be posting every day. If your goal is just to like play with an algorithm and get the most views and vanity metrics, then maybe just once a day forever. Just has to be a super high quality post. But like the only metric that I look at is the growth of our email list on the back end. And
yeah, I I grew my email list the one time that I properly tested it within 1 month. Yeah, 1 month we grew 200 people, and I've never
That's
run
great.
any email marketing campaigns ever. And I thought, okay, cool. I've done that once. I'll put that to bed for now because I'm a still technically one man show. I've got a full-time editor, which is great, and I'm trying to get that flow
How
because
does the email list happen on TikTok? Because
no, this was from LinkedIn. This is from LinkedIn.
okay, so you've never tried it on TikTok? Because I've joined so many email lists from TikTok.
Well, technically, I've done. I built it up within a month from all of them, but I saw majority of them come from LinkedIn. And it's funny because 1.6 million followers on TikTok will only. First of all, not all of them are active. You know, some of them are accounts that are no longer there, and I'm seeing a little bit of a fluctuation. I've been on 1.6 million plus the number you don't see, 25,000 extra in that. And that's been the same for almost since February, right? I grew an extra 400,000 in January because of a couple of video ideas that worked well. And then from there, it hasn't moved. And for the last 2-3 months, I would see a drop. It would drop from 25,000 down to 22,000. And I thought, okay, what's happening here? What's the go? Am I losing my touch or whatever? I don't know the theory of that. Is it maybe they're culling inactive accounts that were years ago that initially followed me? I don't know. And then start of this week or last week, I put up a video that had the same style of effect that the one in January had. All of a sudden, I grew another 6,000 followers in the last 2 days. You know, but yeah, it's such a roller coaster there. And like going back to the email thing, I actually had a crack at building a more of an older audience because I had a product to sell, which was an online sort of cohort to help people
Mhm,
do what I know, learn what I know.
mhm,
And my TikTok audience is not that audience. It
right.
is not. It is like you can see a real contrast with the videos. I would say, hey, if you want to have some help building content, creating content for your brand or business, I am offering this. Never have I seen such drop in views. It's like I've been categorized on TikTok going, no, you interview people and you talk about your height and you review stuff. You do not
Mhm,
talk about business and whatever. But then I go into my business account, my other one on TikTok, and it's double, triple views. So once you categorize, it kind of forces you to stay in that spot until you permanently try to make a change. And what I've noticed is you can't have like a bucket full of different things you put in the channel. It's too confusing for the system. And the overall theory, going on to the algorithm theory, I don't hack anything. It's once you are consistent enough in retaining the audience, any video will work. However, I feel that when you create a video, you're telling the algorithm what you supply. And it's the algorithm's mission to connect you with people that want that supply. It takes a little while for it to pick up, especially if you're changing your area of whatever it is that you do. And I've seen people that went from Adobe Premiere Pro tutorials or what best editing tools or AI even things to do. They went to become news readers, you know, like that. I forget his name, the News Daddy guy.
news
He's really
daddy.
popular. Yeah. He calls himself News Daddy. But like I've seen a lot of creators over the last year go from what they're known for to completely being pretty much news readers, but with really good editing. It's storytelling and it's
Right.
compelling, and they're building an audience, and there must be something at the end of it. But they're all just news readers now, and I'm like, oh, that sucks. His old content was great. There was one kid. This was years ago. He blew up so much and he had 400,000 followers and he was doing these wicked animations, you know, his own thing. And then he did a couple of like news stories or Karen's Gone Wrong. He had like a segment called Karen's Gone Wrong, and he'd have find content off Reddit or something and he would narrate that. His account blew up so much higher than ever before. And the one message I remember him saying to me or in his Instagram stories was, I miss making my animations, but they don't get the views. It's like, you want to be a creator that pushes to what the market wants, or do you want to survive long enough to build your brand that everybody that wants your content finds you? So there's a bit of evil going on there where it kind of forces you to steer towards the
reward.
news reading, the rewards, but and it's not selling out. It's almost selling your soul.
Yeah, you get like pigeonholed in that one thing, and it's like, how do you build a business around that?
Yeah, and that's where, like, I think the fall of TikTok could happen, especially now where they're pushing out ads. I'm seeing a lot more people talk about how it tempts you to boost your video, and if you do boost your video, it'll suck you in and force you to addict yourself to do more boosting because you'll see the results. But it's like people are addicted to the vanity metrics still. They don't have that critical thinking. I've never boosted a post to get more views, unless it was an ad and the client that I collaborated with paid for it for them. I don't care. I did a collaboration with Adobe. We got 3.4 million
I
views.
saw that.
Yeah, but the engagement was terrible, right? And I had many different ideas, and I used my AI app that I developed to help with those ideas. And then I tinkered them to make them more optimal for my brand and what I think would work. But they made me change a few things because of their brand and all that stuff. Didn't hit, but they used a lot of ad spend on that to make it hit. But you can see the engagement rate was terrible. And so the organic side, which is what I wanted to like blow up, it didn't work. And those corporates, going back to that question you asked earlier, what are the big mistakes is, they do not know that going viral organically is worth way more than purchasing it.
I'm interested in when some of your clients lack creativity. It's something very hard to teach, right? How do you approach that?
Yeah. So when they come to me to be their mascot, I say to them, I manage their expectations. I say, how much creativity do I have? Can I do the whole thing myself? Or tell me what you need me to do and I'll put my creative flair on it. The ones that say yes to that, that's most of the time successful. But if the client wants me to teach them how to do the creativity, I usually run workshops. And the workshops used to be 5 hours long because the first 2.5 hours was theory of how to attract the audience. There's like a psychology of it all. Like there's the hook, there's the bridge, there's the golden nugget, and there's the action at the end. Or you would loop the video, which is a TikTok style, and they would still scratch their head and they wouldn't implement it. They would try it for a couple times. It didn't work. And I'm like, well, you didn't test it enough. So you ignored the first part of the theory, which was flood the market with as much content as you can. I don't care if it's crap. It's meant to be crap at the start, especially if you've never been a creator before. But then what they go and do is they ask me to do it for them. And then I'm like, okay, but it's going to cost you. And some have said, yep, we'll pay whatever. I'm like, great. I'm going to get a good payout here. Then a couple months in, some of it starts working, but then they start telling me how to do it. And I think, wait, hang on. Who's the expert here? Why would you, like, there's been a handful of examples. I'm not going to mention them, but I remember one where we literally went viral organically across the nation. We were in the news, right? Because it was one of the big fast food chains here. And they renewed me to help them further. And then they said, we need to do the generic stuff. This is what the head office said. And I'm like, what the hell? Why would you fix something that isn't broken? Why would you try to do that? And then after that, I was just like, my soul was like, I'm not about the money. I'm about the growth, the success. I was addicted to the people commenting in the video going, I'm going to this restaurant because I saw this video.
And just so I understand you correctly, when you say they let you be the creative, does that mean you are in the video or does that mean you direct every aspect of the video?
Depends how much I paid. But yeah, sometimes I was the mascot and I found that to be the most success. But I had a challenge from a friend one day saying, if you're going to do this as a profession, you need to not be in every video in every client that you have, because you're just a walking billboard. It's pretty much just a long-term collaboration. If you want to do that, great, but I don't advise it. And I thought, okay, I won't. And then I challenged myself to help a brand explode without putting my face on it. And I was just the director, and I did it. But that's when they came back and said, okay, we want you to do it like this and like this and like this. They got like excited and they thought, oh, since it's working, we're going to put our ideas in. I'm like, no, your ideas won't work. And then I thought, well, shit, you pay me anyway. I'm just going to do it and then show you when it doesn't work. And when it doesn't work, what do they go and do? They blame me. Or when I have an epic idea and they say, yeah, sounds good. And then I create it and I'm about to post it. And then they look at it, they're like, oh, actually, no, I don't post that. I'm like, what do you mean? I spent half a day on this. This will work. And then I would leave because, you know, again, not about the money. I'm about having my creativity utilized. They would post it and it would do well. And I'm like, okay, well, you just wanted to get rid of me then. Good luck. I have another client I used to have, and I did it out of love because of my love for a specific product. I was the brand mascot. And if you go to the profile, you can see a clear contrast of when I was in the content, lots of hundreds of thousands, millions of views. And then when I left, it's ghost, nothing, crickets. And I'm like, these are case studies that I tell people all the time. I'm like, this is what patience looks like. This is what, when you have no idea what you're talking about and you try something that doesn't work continuously, looks like. And they still don't get it. So I've come to the point where I've had enough, but I still want to help somehow. And I'm really careful now because all I really want to do is advise. I want to come in and go, this is what you need to do. This is how you do it, exactly how you do it. And yeah, people are hiring me, which is great. But the biggest hurdle is still who's in the video, who's going to be in the video, right? And hospitality is easy because you just get the patrons, the staff or whatever. Service base is tricky. Corporate is really tricky because you have to jump through so many hoops to get one piece of a content approved. That's why I just advise. I'm like, here's the system, here's what you do, and it's not a hack. This is how you systematically grow your channel. Grow your community to then tell them what you have to offer. They'll find it organically anyway, and they'll purchase it organically anyway. And if you want to kick them up the bum, that's when you put ad spend in. But they're running around in circles trying to figure out who the right mascot is and what is the right adjective they're going to put in the title of their first 2 seconds. And I'm like, do you see any of this in the system? No. The first thing in the system, for rule number 1 in my system, is put out everything as much as you can and see what sticks. And then they go, oh, but this guru said, no, you only have to post 1 a week. I'm like, okay, do that. Post something, you know? So there's too many people out there with too many different things, opinions. And I mean, obviously I think my opinion is like the most correct, but I think that there are more people now than ever before saying you just have to post a lot, test. And they don't. And it's just like, come on. And Australia is worse. Like you tell the American clients to do it, they actually do it. So, you know, maybe I have to become a night owl and just be a Zoom advisor for American companies for the TikTok stuff because they listen.
Yeah, some of them listen. They're definitely more open to it. I think in America, it's the large majority of business owners have come to the understanding of the potential of what's possible with social media. Whether it's TikTok or Instagram or YouTube or LinkedIn, they know that they stand a greater likelihood of success if they're massively visible versus not. It's just, are they willing to work?
Yeah. What about your thoughts on AI, the AI little thing on LinkedIn? I just remembered that. It came up recently.
I mean, it's not, I've tested it a couple times. It's not that impressive yet. But just AI in general, I think that for business owners, they need to be on video even more. Their authenticity needs to shine through on video, live audio. Because if not, how do I even know that you're real? The automatic emotion right now is already distrust. There's going to be AI photos. There's already ChatGPT bots that are posting and automated content, automated comments. And how do I know that I'm even engaging with you? And what are you going to do? It's your responsibility to earn my trust for me to book a consultation or go to your webinar or whatever. What are you going to do about it? Because if not, I'm just going to go to a competitor that I trust more, period.
Yeah. On TikTok, they've got a AI switch that you have to tell that this video is generated with AI. And if you don't, and it's flagged, you can potentially risk of having your account banned. And I came up with this theory probably 8 months ago now, where I think that, and this is technically an example for TikTok, but you've got the blue verification badge. I reckon there's going to be something else like an AI, I don't know, green one or a gold one that says this is AI generated. So when you're scrolling, that little blue or whatever green tick comes in, you're like, oh, this is AI generated. I feel like interacting with a real human being today. See you later. And with these companies flooding AI content, this is where creators, if we are active enough and we create a business model around it, companies will be seeking out authentic creators even more soon than ever before, simply because we have that charisma and that camera presence. And there's not that many that can do it authentically, hence why people are resorting to AI. Do we create a new school with that to teach people? Do we take drama classes more seriously, not just in hopes to get into Hollywood, but in hopes that a company will like us enough to become the next superstar 12-month, 6-figure contract? There's one of the Shark Tank guys said that. Is the bald one? I forget his name. Old mate.
Kevin O'Leary?
Yeah, him. He said that. Kevin said that this was like a few years ago now from memory. He said that content creators that have that camera presence will be worth more than oil, because
100%.
they have that gathering attention. And I think AI is bringing us closer to that point now. But yeah, you're right with the AI stuff. Like I've built an AI tool not to post inauthentic content, but to get rid of 90% of the guesswork in what the next post should be. It takes out the tedious part of brainstorming. It unblocks your creative block. And I've had a couple of copywriters have a go at me because I was promoting it in the middle of the writer's strike. And I said, this isn't to replace copywriters. This is to enhance them. And if you want to be one of those copywriters that puts up a cup of coffee at 10 p.m. because you're going to be sitting there brainstorming cue montage of different papers and ideas and stuff, be my guest. But I would rather be a copywriter that gets ChatGPT or my app that gives me 100 different points to start from. And then I read between the lines and all of a sudden I've got the perfect idea that I still came up with, but it was like Isaac Newton when the apple hit his head. He was like, "Oh, gravity! How good!" Apple never hit, wouldn't have discovered gravity. AI never came up with those 100 generic ideas where you saw idea 67 and idea 5 come together in this weird moment and gone, "Huh, those two together though." And that's what copywriters are not seeing, in my opinion.
I love it. Where can people learn more about you, Sev? Do you have a website? Where do you want people to go?
SEV'Spics.com, SEV'Spics.com. But to see updates of what I'm doing, LinkedIn, which means that's just my accountability now. I have to post more on LinkedIn. Just, my full name, Seva Morzaev on LinkedIn. And on Instagram, I'm growing a new channel called Severa Creative, which is SEVERA Creative. And that is the company name that I've made for the creative. We're creative problem solvers. We're not just creative marketers. We're creative problem solvers now, because I'm really started to get addicted to coming into a workspace where an employee does a task for 5 hours a week, and I show them how to bring that down to 10 minutes using my knowledge of AI. Creative problem solving, utilizing the evolving world. So if you want more information on that, I put a lot of stuff up on that Instagram channel, and then my own Instagram channel, SEVA'S Pics, just normal. Yeah, you find one, you find all of them. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll include all the links to everything that you just mentioned in the description of the podcast and the video. But this was great. I mean, this is like one of the first podcasts where I just felt like I was having a conversation.
Amazing. Can I ask you one more question? If that's
Yeah,
okay.
go ahead.
With Australia being between 3 to 5 years behind the head of the curve, which I see the US in with the marketing game, I took advantage of it clearly with TikTok. It's happening again with LinkedIn. What is one ultimate tip you would give to someone in Australia trying to leverage LinkedIn for their service-based business, for example?
I'd audit who has paid you the most with the least resistance in your business in terms of like what was the industry, location, company size, was the founder involved, what was the personality of the founder like, and then I would just connect with people like that person on LinkedIn and just put as much content in front of them as possible.
You can filter that in searching those people?
Yeah.
Wow.
You could filter the
Okay.
size of the company, the industry, whether the person is a CEO or the founder, all of that stuff. How many employees they have, their location, whatever. Create a model around that. On LinkedIn, you want to go for the people that pay you the most with the least resistance.
Okay. That makes all sense. Yes. Wow, that's it. So
Yeah, that's it.
the way